This is the state of the nation. Irifa Uganda. We are deliberate, we are reasonable, we are uncensored. The state of the nation with Henry Sally. Welcome to the state of the nation. My name is Henry Sally, and this is the state of the nation. Before we start, we wish to acknowledge this land on which the University of Toronto African Alumni Association operates. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and the Mississaugas of the Credit. Today, this meeting place is still home to many indigenous people from across the Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. In studio today is the man himself, Council Kakwenza Rukirabashaija. Are you council yet?
Rukirabashaija, please.
Rukirabashaija. I pronounce it in Uganda, but I appreciate you correcting me.
No, in Uganda, don't tell me that S and H is pronounced as Sa. Huh? Is it?
Rukirabashaija.
Yes.
Is that right?
Ja.
Bashaija.
Rukirabashaija.
Oh my goodness. There's always something to learn every day. Pleasure to see you once again.
So
How
if
are
you
you doing?
pronounce it as Rukirabashaija, you'll be throwing me to Tolo and Bunyoro kingdoms. Yet
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, pleasure to see you. It's been a while. How are you doing?
Good. I'm very fine. Enjoying life in exile.
Enjoying life in exile. That's an irony, given what you have written so far.
It's not a bitter bread of exile, though. Like
right.
the one our first president faced when he was exiled.
Yeah.
It is not a bitter bread of exile. Apart from what I'm handling right now, physical and mental torture.
Of course, yeah.
Really fine.
I know. I've been in the diaspora for over a decade now, by choice, of course. But it becomes very, I know it can be very lonely sometimes. It can be very...
I've never admired to live abroad. And
yeah.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you categorically clear. When Museveni dies right now...
Yeah. You board a plane and go back to Uganda.
And his great son also dies, I will just go back to Uganda. Or when he's rendered Paris, I will go back to Uganda.
Right.
Yeah.
I know it's a lot has been a lot has. I think the diaspora is not very easy, especially when you're living by yourself. It's unfortunate that this is taking a toll on your mental health. But
my family is here, by the way. My family.
Your family joined you. Amazing. That's great.
So if for the betterment of my children's future, if Museveni dies, I will just because I want a very good future for my children. They will have to stay here.
Right.
Enjoy free and quality education.
Of course.
Insurance, healthcare insurance and whatnot. So that for me, I go back home and do some other stuff.
And of course, Germany offers one of the best education systems in Europe. So
it's very good.
Yeah, that's a good. I'm excited to learn that your family is with you now. Earlier on in the year, there were a lot of.
It wasn't easy to bring them here because initially they had been denied passports, and until I made noise, I had to tell them, come on, fuck you. They wanted me to keep quiet as a condition for them to give them passports.
Right. Tell us more about that. How did you manage to
I
convince
had to make
these
I had to make a lot of noise, and it attracted the attention of some very big stakeholders, and they wrote to the Uganda Human Rights Commission,
Right.
immigration,
Right.
and on account of that, they had to explain.
Yeah.
And by explaining, I mean they had to give them passports.
Of
And
course.
even after getting the passports, smuggling them out was not also easy because they were held at the border for about 4 hours. They had to first make calls, do this and that, you know,
And I
until
know
they were released.
I know Council Aaron Keys has been a fundamental pillar in getting your family across the
Yeah,
seas.
Aaron is like the best lawyer in the whole world, maybe I should say. If it were not for his expertise in terms of human rights stuff, I would still be in prison by now. But
Yeah,
he's a very good activist and a lawyer.
which is really good. We need more of that of those
Yeah,
kinds in Uganda, I believe.
yeah,
So
we have a lot of human rights lawyers in Uganda, but if you are a human rights lawyer, one, you have to be an activist also. You have to be defiant. You have to be impatient. But
mhm,
you know the other lawyers, when like for example they have a client in military detention, they they do not make a lot of noise to make sure that their client is out immediately. They,
right.
you know, there are very many. I left a lot of people in prison who are, they have lawyers. I cannot say that they do not have lawyers. They have
Yeah,
lawyers. They do have lawyers. But because their lawyers are not good activists, they do not make noise. Uh, they do not hold the regime by the horns. Is the
right.
reason why they are still incarcerated.
How is Aaron doing? I know he came to visit you and spend some time with you there in Europe.
He's
Uh,
good. He's
is he
very
good?
fine.
Yeah, it's good. That's good. And how is Dr. Stella doing?
Um, Stella is okay. I saw her, I think, 2 weeks ago, and she's
Right.
doing fine.
And her kids are doing well as
Very
well.
good. Yeah, yeah.
She wrote on Twitter that they were struggling with integrating into the system, given that they do not speak German as well.
You know, let me tell you
Are your kids facing the same challenge right now?
Let me tell you something. I've lived everywhere in the whole world. I've
Yeah,
lived in USA. I've lived in Canada for a short time. I've lived in the UK
yeah,
before before Brexit. I had
yeah.
never lived in Europe, but uh, I had never lived in Germany. So basically, Germany is very good. It's a very, very good country,
Hmm.
except that the language,
Yeah.
it's a must. You have to learn the language. So when you have children who are above, let's say, 12 years, it's very difficult really to integrate because here classes are conducted in German. So you
Hmm.
have to learn the language first. And the good thing with children who are below 12 years, who are not yet teenagers, they learn very fast. I think in 6 months or 1 year, they already speak another language fluently. So I
Yeah.
think the problem is that Stella's children, they're teenagers and they find it very difficult to learn the language
To
and all.
relearn, I know,
Yeah,
relearn a
yeah,
new
yeah.
language.
So
Yeah.
they have to find international schools that teach in English. But
Yeah.
for me, my children definitely they are still very young. They will, I think, even by Christmas they will be speaking German. They will be
By
teaching.
Christmas. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's great. So
Mm.
it's good to know that your children are already assimilating to the German culture and they're already learning the language, which
Yes.
is a little bit different for Stella, of course, for Stella's
But
children.
her children are very intelligent.
I know. Well, she has been
Maybe
talking about that.
by January next year of March, they will have learned the language perfectly and they will not be complaining.
Yeah, so then they can immerse into the education system in German,
Yeah.
uh, and try to develop themselves academically. We pray for you guys. We look at you and we pray for you. Why don't we delve into the book? You have been writing a lot. Of course, you now probably spend most of your time reading and writing. Writing has probably become your primary source of income now. Uh, you wrote a new book.
Of
Or
course.
you're in the process of completing it, the Savage Avenger. Tell us a little bit about the Savage Avenger. Of course, I've shared a little preamble of the Savage Avenger,
Mm.
which is very interesting. Reading what you wrote, you talked about in that book, specifically giving us a report of what really happened in Uganda. Uh, First, as you had an opportunity to fight back, and then, of course, that wasn't taken easily by the government, so they had to put a law, the previous law that was created by the then honorable Amama
Mm.
Mbabazi. I'm not sure if he's still
No,
honorable.
it is not. It is not him really.
Or it's not him.
Mm.
Well, many people attribute it to him, just like the recent law is attributed to Honorable Nseleko. They call it the Nseleko draconian law. We are going to talk about that as well. I know you haven't. I'm not sure if you have talked about that one, because it touches specifically on people who speak online and try to call out the government. In this case, you talk about the Public Order Management Act.
That
Uh,
for Amama Babas, it was Public Order Management Act.
Yeah, so Mama, that's what I was referring to,
Yes.
because in your
So basically, this year really 2022 has been, if I can describe it in a very hard English, it has been an annus horribilis
and what
for
do you mean
me.
by that?
A year of disaster, of misfortune.
Right.
But either way, this year I've managed to, I think, achieve a lot. I've managed to sit down and write a book, um, narrating the events shortly before I was arrested in December, and
Hmm.
during the arrest, everything explained, because everything explained, the events before, during the arrest, after arrest, where I was taken, definitely SFC. The people who were involved in my torture, that is Muhozi and his chamchas, how I was smuggled into court very early in the morning at 8 before official opening hours, how I was taken to the maximum prison, and how the life at Chitaria, and struggling to get bail. Then finally, when I got it and I was kidnapped again, then
Hmm.
taken back to, again taken to the military barracks, then driving me back to my home in the middle of the night, and following me up everywhere I go. Then the judicial harassment, how they use the judiciary to harass me, in total disregard of the law. How they denied me medical attention. When I came out of prison, uh, I was referred to Europe to get extensive medical attention, and the stupid magistrate refused to give me my passport. So, and that is the reason why I decided to escape. Actually, for me, I never wanted to leave the country. I never wanted to go to exile. I wanted to remain in the country. I wanted to get my medical attention, then return.
Right.
Because the stupid magistrate refused to give me my passport, I decided to run away. And after running away, you've been seeing a series of arrest warrants against me. So that is the reason I cannot go back to Uganda. I know that if I go back, they will arrest me. So the book narrates everything in relationship to the law and how I fled. I arrived in Germany and the culture shock in Germany and so on and so forth. If I give you more details, you will not have the
opportunity to buy the book.
You will not you will not have the taste buds to buy the book.
Right.
So
This,
we have, I have a publisher, and he actually wanted to release the book next month, but I refused. I told him, please, no. We shall release the book on 28th December. That will be the anniversary of my arrest.
oh, that you're being strategic and intentional, which is good.
Yeah.
Of course, these are most of the things you have already talked about. I don't want to ask you what exactly should intrigue people to read your book, but I feel compelled uh, to ask you what motivated, what inspired you to actually sit down and give us all this narration. Without delving into the narration itself.
You know, Henry, I told you before that when you joke with a writer,
right,
when you joke with be careful. Whatever you tell a writer, it could make a story, or whatever you do to a writer could make a
right.
story.
Mm-hmm.
So when you touch a writer, definitely he bleeds ink. So I could not take that horrendous which I went through with equanimity. I had to sit down and write another book, like I have been doing previously.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts about this guy who tortured you that you talk about a lot? The guy who spearheaded your torture.
Why are you calling him a guy? The piglet of the pig,
What are your thoughts about his recent online triads with, of course, Kenya, and, his dad coming out to apologize on his behalf, him being promoted and demoted at the same time? What do you think of all these events?
I told you that boy, he's at 48 years, he's actually like a teenager. That boy, don't get surprised when one day he gets drunk, then he comes out when he's suffering from hangover. Then he comes out to tell us how the bedroom stuff with his wife. Don't be surprised,
Right.
or how be surprised how he will tell us how he was once a sperm and he escaped from his father's scrotum. Don't be surprised if he says such things online on Twitter. But
Well,
anyway, me, I do not have time to discuss his stupidity apart from when I'm tormented and I decide to blow off the steam on Twitter attacking him. But I don't want to give him the audience right now when I'm talking to you. But
and that's fair. That's fair
yes,
enough. So,
definitely. As the person who tortured me, together with his other people, actually, I didn't know more of the details until when I ran to exile and I got actually more of the details because I have friends who are in the security circle who really told me more of the things that I did not know, more of the people who were involved in my torture. Okay, for him, I met him 3 times. By the entire time I was in the SFC, and
right.
when I was released and kidnapped from Chitalia, I met him in the military barracks. So I know other people, other big people who were involved in my torture, apart from Muhoz. Muhoz also, I cannot call him big, he's just big-headed only, but big people I know, I'm saying that the big people in government. For him, I cannot say that he's big in government. He's not.
Well, obviously, he's not big anymore, given the fact that he was demoted from his previous position. He still is one of the advisors of his dad, whatever
Now,
that
what is he?
means.
What is he advising his dad? Really, honestly,
I know, whatever that means. But
he's just shitting around, pooping around, and his dad is scooping his shit. So, are you trying to say that the by his father, by scooping the shit, that is the way of advice? I mean, for him shitting and the father scooping the shit is a way of advising.
well, that's what they tell us. But of course, we do know of other advisors who are not productive and
But
never
you
consulted
should
at
know
all.
that, you also know that Museveni, however much he has very many advisors, they do not advise him. He's the one who advises them.
He does advise them. That is true. Let's
Yeah.
talk about the computer misuse bill. As an activist, this is something that touches upon you directly, uh, especially given that most of uh, your communication is online now that you're not in Uganda directly. Of
Mm.
course, Dr. Selanyas, you were thrown into jail for uh, putting out some of her thoughts online, specifically on Facebook, and uh, talking directly about the First Lady and the President of Uganda. Now, what are your thoughts about the Computer Misuse Amendment Bill or Act now?
What you should know is that the moment the right of freedom of speech and expression is atrophied, not only the right, not only the right, but also the person
Yeah.
having the right gets into a semi-coma. So Ugandans should know that their right to speak is actually in coma or in semi-coma. Their right to speak is in semi-coma, and also they themselves, they are in semi-coma. And
Right.
yes, I actually, you know, you first look at people who introduced it in parliament.
Mhm.
These are just pigs who are stinking and they don't want to be told that they are stinking.
Do you delve into that conversation in the Savage, the Savage Avenger?
Of course, I briefly wrote about the freedom to write,
Right.
and I, I, uh, I wrote briefly about freedom to write.
I immediately after the signing of
Mm.
the ascension of that bill into an act by the president, the person who you describe as the deposed President Museveni. I did follow up a few conversations on Facebook, and Mr. Anseleko, or Honorable Anseleko, justified this bill or this act now as one that was needed, and most of the examples was giving were from uh, the Middle East, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Dubai. Do you think Uganda should be uh, categorized as some of those countries
Why would you categorize Uganda with these other Islamic monarchies, dictatorship?
autocratic monarchies? So
Oh,
most of the
Honorable Monsereko should know that his bill, uh, I don't even understand the kind of law Honorable Monsereko studied, because, as you know, I don't think that it was guided by any international human rights instrument. And also criminalizing free speech, it is very dangerous, because I don't know, like, for example, the standard set in criminal law, for any criminal law to be introduced, it must be clear. And this law, Computer Misuse Act and whatnot, it is not clear. There are several laws that should have guided, that should have been followed without amending the computer. Definitely, even the Computer Misuse Act, it was already bad. even by amending it, they made it the worst.
Right. Right.
Yes, because I remember even the previous one, before it was amended, it was under contestation. It had about 10 petitions in Constitutional Court. It's only that the Constitutional Court, they delayed to pronounce themselves on the matter. You see, other countries, like for example, here in Germany, however much someone's freedom of speech is offending or it is shocking, it is handled by the constitutional instrument. Everyone has a right to speak anything they want. Doesn't have
Right.
to, if you feel that you are aggrieved by someone's utterances, you just charge him in a civil court. Slander.
As slander, exactly.
Yes, but you see
Yeah.
that criminalizing it is really very bad.
Yeah, those are the same laws that we have here in Canada. If
And for
someone, if
example,
you have,
here it is hardly you find someone saying, having hate speech against their leaders. If someone is not comfortable or is not, if someone thinks that their leaders have not done enough, they wait for another election because they know that here democracy works. If you do not like the leader, you just vote them out. Huh?
right, right.
Leaders do what they are supposed to do. Even I believe in Canada, that is what it is.
Indeed, yeah,
You cannot even you cannot even find something to hate against a leader.
exactly. Here, for
So they should
example, here in
really
Canada,
examine what is causing all this. Why would me start saying that our members of parliament are pigs? Because they are so greedy like pigs. Which
right,
other which other parliament in first world countries do you find um, a speaker behaving like Anita Among? Or Anita Among, if she breaches, and I tell it to her that she really breaches, does that amount to hate
hate
speech and
speech. Yeah,
also all that? Do I have to be kidnapped and taken for torture?
of course, these are all questions that need to be interrogated more. There are
Yeah,
allegations.
they
There are
have to appreciate
allegations.
who they are. If someone has a pot belly and I am writing, for me, I appreciate descriptive writing.
Right.
So if I am describing my character, for example, I'm describing Mohozi, or I am describing, how do I start saying that Mohozi has 6 packs?
When he doesn't.
When he has a very big pot belly
Right,
and
right,
big cheeks,
right.
chubby like a pig.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it all comes to us being honest with each other. And sometimes, unfortunately, in our culture, people always want to be, uh, they don't want to be blunt. When you're blunt, they say, oh, ina pisa.
What do
Uh,
you mean culture? Culture, it is us who make culture. Culture doesn't make us.
that is true, indeed.
Yes, culture keeps on evolving, evolving. Some values that we took serious before, they are now repugnant. huh? They are now
Indeed.
repugnant, and we cannot look up to them. So this is 21st century. I have a right to, if my leader is very stupid, I have a right to tell him that he's very stupid.
No, not
So if
necessarily because he is
you tell
stupid,
me
but
that
because he engages
my
in
leader
doing
is
stupid
my
things.
leader is very stupid, and I tell him that he's stupid, and he start telling me that I'm uncultured, immoral. It is you who is very stupid. Yeah. If a leader
So,
is behaving as a stupid person, tell them that they are very stupid. Why would you hide in culture, in morality? Who defines morality?
yeah, who devised morality, indeed.
Mhm.
Uh, I had Tamale Mirundi alleging that Mr. Anseleko was trapped into fronting this bill because he has a lot of debt in the bank. Now, this is, of course, I don't know how true that is, but Tamale Mirundi can also make certain things or make certain statements that could be shocking. Do you think there's any grain of salt in that statement?
I don't know, but I cannot really dispel it. But anything is possible. I cannot, because I don't have evidence that Mr. Nsereko is indebted. Nsereko is my friend, by the way. I cannot say that he's indebted, but anything is possible. To be a Kampala Central MP must be a Muyai. Mr. Nsereko is a Muyai, must be a dealer. So I don't know. Even if who was contesting against him?
Nyanzi.
Freddy Nyanzi had won the slot.
Freddy Nyanzi,
Seven and his couple of chamchas, they would have actually used another person. They have very many people they can use. For them, this law, they want to use it as a shell, to shield themselves from criticism. First, ask yourself, for example, there is this boy who said that, when Anita Among went to see Pop, and the boy said that, oh, I think the whole what? The whole, I'm forgetting that statement. The whole thing smells Carolite. The boy was picked. The boy was picked and taken for the whole month in a torture chamber. Now, which kind of people are these ones who want to make themselves gods, using the law, that it is the law?
Right.
First of all, can Anita Among go to court and prove that indeed she's not breached? Actually, even the charge sheet itself is defective because it does not include what the boy did or said. I mean, it only says that he disturbed the peace of the Speaker of Parliament. But how? The charge sheet is not even clear, so it is defective.
So how do we deal with such events when they happen in our country, and we have an opposition that is somewhat ineffective in how to interrogate these issues? What should we do as Ugandan citizens?
Ugandans are united against Museveni.
Right.
You know that. But the problem is Ugandans, we are cowards. So even if you say, let us hold a demonstration in Kampala, in Mbale, in Jinja, in Barara, people will not show up. You will be there alone. Ugandans, they lack inertia. They are cowards. You first remember when Bobi Wine invited people to demonstrate against the social media tax. Just a handful, and also when he saw the policeman, he jumped on a border and took off. So Ugandans, we are really cowards. We can unite ourselves against Museveni. Now, first see, ever since the law was introduced, you can see that even the online activism has reduced. It is only
exactly,
who can maintain that activism. But those ones in Uganda, they no longer say so.
Yeah, well, when you're in a country that does not respect that kind of dialogue, where you can disagree to disagree, then you have not so many options to interrogate some of the issues, even when you know that they do not really benefit the human rights of Ugandans. When you think about, for example, what has been going on in terms of the political dialogue, do you think the opposition has been forthcoming in interrogating some of these issues? Specifically, well, let us talk about the tax, for example. You've lived in Uganda for almost all your life until this year. You have been paying over 30% tax, which means you have only been getting 70% if you're a government worker. Do you think it's fair for the government to take over 30% tax?
It is not fair. And also, what you've asked about the forthcoming of the opposition, we have to look at the results. And the results, the best results the opposition can deliver is to rise up, and we see them 7 is packing up their bags. That is the best results. For me, that is how I will feel satisfied that indeed the opposition we have done our work. But before that, when we see we are losing almost half of the revenue collected to corruption,
Right.
and we are spending we are spending 48 trillions. Then we are earning in revenue 23. Then 15 trillion is lost in corruption. So what is that really?
Starting in November, all government workers will be paying up to 40% in taxes, which means they will only be taking home 60% of their earned value or salaries. What is the government going to use all 40% of
There
the
is no
money?
country. There is no country which has ever taxed their citizens to prosperity. Uganda is not going to be the first country to be rich because of taxes. Even the taxes, the small taxes we have, we collect, it is stolen. So really,
Because
what is
that is 40% on top of the VAT. Because when you go to buy things in shops, you also pay VAT. So why is the government taking so much
so?
taxes from?
So
And why isn't no one talking about it right now? Because no one is
the
talking
government
about
is
this.
collecting more taxes so that they can steal more. That
Right.
is the issue. They are collecting, and they are collecting to steal more. They are not collecting to use it to develop the country. No.
Do you think that Mr. Museveni wants to rule another 10 years after this term?
That is if he doesn't die, because I am not God to know when he's going to die. But if if he manages to finish the next term, I'm told that he wants to contest next term. If he manages to finish it, I don't know.
He has been very boastful about his health and
Mm.
how he manages his lifestyle, which means he feels confident about uh, his life and ruling Uganda more. Especially given his connections right now with Kenya. We had recently Mr. Ruto praising him and alluding to the notion that he should become the leader of the East African Federation, even though his son or his brother in Rwanda did not come for the 60th independence celebrations. Uh, what are your thoughts about the East African Federation, and do you think that Ugandans know enough to engage in these conversations?
But this talk about East African Federation has not started with Museveni, and it is only just rhetoric. It is just only talk. There is nothing. There is nothing like any progress about it. If there
Well,
was,
you could say that there's nothing in it, any progress about it, but right now most Ugandans travel using an East African passport, even though it
yes,
has the
that is
word
one.
Uganda.
What
Yeah,
about
but
visa? Just imagine, to go to Kenya, you need a visa. Also, integration should be bound by common values. For example, Kenya, at least it has taken a step on democracy. So which values is Kenya or Tanzania? Sorry, I have a cold.
sorry.
Is sharing with Uganda?
Well, we could debate that,
Isn't it?
but the fact of the matter is, when you look at, for example, what is happening in Uganda and how systematically Ugandan things are being erased on all documents that we have, that the passport, for example, there is an allegation that the ID will soon read East African instead of Uganda. So there are these allegations that the entity that is Uganda is being erased systematically from the map through the documents first, and then later on, maybe if there is agreement, forced integration.
That is Mr. Museveni. That is Mr. Museveni masturbating with hysteria, and he has infected it with his son. His son is just blabbering with half-baked knowledge. I've told you, I've seen integration. Like, for example, European Union.
Right.
You've seen all the countries in European Union are rich. They respect human rights. They are democracy. So you cannot just start saying that at least Kenya, which is a little bit of a democracy, to integrate with a military junta in Uganda, in Rwanda. We have not changed the leaders. We have to first look at the political, at the values, common values. Which values do we share?
Right.
Economic, political life, social life. What do we share really?
Not much at this moment, but like when you hear the speech that Mr. Ruto, who is the new president of Kenya, delivered during the independence celebrations, you have to question what's in his head and what is thinking.
Of course, birds of the same feathers flock together. Ruto is a very good student of Museveni. They are all the same. They are all defined by barbarism.
Should we anticipate a change of constitution in Kenya?
I don't think so. I don't think Kenyans are awoke. They are not like Ugandans.
Right.
First look at the Kenyan institutions. They stand. Democracy depends on strong and independent institutions. And I'm sure that you can also applaud the institutions of Kenya. The Electoral Commission, the judiciary. You have seen judiciary taking a stand.
In the past, yes. We don't know to what extent they are still taking a similar stand during this government. I don't think it has been tested during this government.
I don't know. I don't know if Mr. Ruto will, as I've told you, Mr. Museveni is a mentor to Ruto. Maybe he will advise him to appoint all the cadre judges in the judiciary so that, in case of anything, they can always back him up. But anyway, I'm not so well versed with such topic.
Yeah, which is fair as well, which is fair. So tell Ugandans when they should expect to buy the Savage Avenger, and why they should be excited about reading it.
Savage Avenger is coming up on 28th December. It will be ready on Amazon, and because you well know that that book cannot be allowed in Uganda, but I'll try by all means to smuggle, because I have orders. I've managed to get pre-orders about I think they're nearing 800 copies from Uganda.
Right.
Those
that's amazing.
People who have pre-ordered. So I'll try by all means maybe to ship like 2,000 copies in Uganda, since I cannot sell it in any Amazon, in any bookshop. I will send them to someone to distribute to people who have already ordered.
Right.
Then the rest of the countries, I'll personally go to Kenya, definitely. I'll go to Nairobi. I'll go to some countries in Africa. I have a lot of fans in Accra. I'll go to Accra.
Yeah.
I'll go to South Africa.
You anticipate doing a series of book tours in different countries. I believe you'll be coming to Toronto perhaps sometime in next year. Do you have a time frame of when you'll be coming to Toronto? When should Torontonians expect you?
I'll be in Toronto next year in summer because I'll be in New York California and Washington. Then from USA, I'll come to Toronto and Vancouver.
Right.
Then before I go to UK.
So people in Toronto and Vancouver should expect you to be here
Yes,
for the book.
Yeah, they have already organized for me.
Amazing, amazing. We shall be eagerly waiting to see those books signed by you yourself.
I was supposed to be there in January, but I don't like the winter in Canada. It's very
I
terrible.
know. Please don't come in January because you won't
Yeah,
see us.
the first time to be in Canada, I went in Feb, and it was really
Oh
very
my
terrible,
goodness, that's
and I
the
hated
most
it.
interesting month. So January, February, if you come here, you'll probably, if you're lucky, you'll find us in our homes or our offices. But we may not be looking for you. We may not be eagerly looking for you. Summer
Yeah,
is a
I'll
good.
definitely begin my book tour in maybe this winter. I'll only go to Africa, but Europe and USA and Canada will begin in summer from May.
Right.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's we are excited. We are excited to have you. You earlier on today, you mentioned about how all these events have been very tough on your mental health.
Mm.
How are you doing, really?
I'm good. I'm really doing fine.
Okay, so does that mean that the coming of your family helped a lot,
Definitely.
and now you have definitely stabilized to an extent?
You know, I don't know if you have a family.
No,
Yeah,
I
you
have a
see,
family of friends, but not a nuclear family. So, but I spend
children,
a lot of time in the library, just
no
like
children.
yourself.
I'm so close to my children. My children are everything.
Right.
I make sure that you know, a whole year was going to be too much for me without seeing my children. I spent Christmas with them,
Yeah.
and on 28th I was already at work in Kampala, and that is where they found me at my home in Kampala. So I had last seen them during Christmas. And you can imagine from then up to just this month when they arrived, I had not seen them. So it was really torturing me. But I'm now
Yeah.
happy that they are around, though making for me a lot of noise. But
Which is good. That's amazing.
you can hear them downstairs making some noise.
I know. That's good. That's good that they are assimilating easily. They see you. They are not scared of seeing policemen or army men coming to whisk you out of your house through
Definitely,
the windows or whatever. I think that's a good thing, and I'm very happy that you are with them now. Uh,
yeah.
and you are also stabilizing. Earlier in the year, there were so many allegations uh, of you having escapades with Bazungu. Were those true?
Ah, that was just sponsored propaganda. Just ignore.
Mr.
That is
Does
why
that
you
mean?
see, I did not talk about anything.
Yeah, okay.
Just kept quiet because I don't quarrel with such things. But what you should know is that there were a lot of spies, you know. As I told you, actually, when the time I arrived in exile,
Yeah,
I even posted about it, about women they had planted around me, and I
yeah.
promised what I would do to them. But I'm sure that, okay, I can promise you that I didn't do anything. But
Yeah, I also know that you're very good at joking. You're always joking about it. so that's why I was like, okay, I'll just get it from him,
just ignore
probably.
that
So
because
yeah,
I cannot waste my time talking about it.
right.
Yeah.
All right. So many people are
Because
talking about.
how do you explain some people who are lying that for me, I abandoned my children, I don't take care of my children, they are suffering. Did you see any child of mine suffering? Or did you see any woman
Well,
paraded that I chewed them and I dumped them. No one. Did you see a woman being paraded that, oh, Kakwenza chewed this one and abandoned them? What is wrong with the consented chewing? You chew, when things do not work out well, you just, why should it be a fuss?
Right. As far as I'm concerned, all I hear right now in the background are happy children having fun. And I'm glad that they managed to come and join you. So that's pretty good. I'm glad that you're doing well as well. Much better than you did earlier on when you're by yourself. Uh, Hopefully in the summer we shall see you. I know Dr. Stella Nyas will be coming to Toronto in the summer as well. The dates will be announced, of course. She will be presenting at a certain conference. So it would be nice to have both of you. Perhaps we can gather on a State of the Nation together, the three of us in
a round table.
On a round table and have these discussions and see what people have to say. But it's always a pleasure to hear from you. I wish you all the best in your endeavors. I wish you continued writing and educating. Of course, Ugandans watch you, they follow you, they always want to know what's going on. They might be quiet, they might be kicked off the internet now, but that does not mean that they're not listening and that they are not participating in events that eventually will lead to a transformed Uganda. So we do appreciate people like you. We hope that you have the courage to continue talking, writing, and educating our people.
Of course. We all want to see a Uganda that is free, free from these greedy pigs, so that we don't have anything to talk about. Like we don't have to use insults. We don't have to insult our leaders. If our leaders insult us, as in poor legislation, poor leadership, we also have to insult them.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that when we build our country very well, such things will not be there. Democracy will be flourishing, and they will not be insulting us, and us, we shall not be insulting them.
Oh, do you want to talk about the alliance, the DP-NRM alliance? I don't know what it's called exactly. Mr. Mao has a name for it. What are your thoughts about that?
That is fishing. Mr. Mao was fished, but he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to admit it that he was fished.
What should DP members do about that?
They should just kick Mao away and they rebuild their party. It is very sad that the likes of Nambos, the likes of Mpuga, they left the DP, and now it is almost hollow without any credible leadership. The leadership that is there, it is in the armpits of Mao, and he moved with it to Mr. Museveni for some cassava.
Right.
However much he tries to frame it that it is transition, what?
Yeah, Mr. Museveni dismissed those thoughts about transition.
Mr. Mao should just know that he was jobless and financially inconvenienced, and he was forked, he was fished. So he's now trying to confuse us with another term, saying that it is an agreement of this and that. No, it's not.
What does that mean for the opposition in Uganda, or for the people that are change seekers in Uganda?
But what has DP been contributing to the opposition in Uganda? Nothing, apart from the Rampas and Bruhaha led by Mao belittling around with other fellow opposition members. What else is there? What else has he really achieved? What can he list down that he has achieved? since he became an opposition person, since he became a DP president. He only makes noise during or before presidential elections. You remember the TDS thing?
Right.
When it is towards the elections, that is when he brings up, when he opens his mouth to talk something, to belittle fellow opposition, to present himself there as the only credible opposition, whereas not.
What is the state of the red card? How is that evolving?
The red card should be for everyone, should have a red card. Say enough is enough. We are giving a red card. That is the purpose of it. As in football, if
Right.
someone gives you a red card, it is enough is enough. So that is the main purpose of it. It is only that we have some elements in opposition who thinks that BSJ is trying to stay relevant in politics. They do not know that he also is an oppressed person and it is his right to be an activist. They want to put him off from activism. He's still oppressed and he's still living in oppression. So
yeah, they want to monopolize the
not
opposition.
want to join him in whatever he introduces. You just let him be, and you also start from where you are with whatever you have. It doesn't mean that when Besje says, I'm giving the government a red card, you say, Besje is doing this and that. You do your stuff.
Right.
That is what is killing opposition, by the way. You see
Yeah,
someone
so
doing something and you start belittling them when you're not doing anything. You're just in your sitting room farting and eating and doing nothing, tweeting and Facebooking. You cannot even go to the street to say enough is enough to hold a placard. No.
do you think the Kunga campaign and the red card campaign should come together and come up with a more tangible
Apart from Twitter Spaces and online things, I've not seen Kunga in on Kampala streets, but I've seen red card on Kampala streets. I've seen them thrown in jail, in prison, but I've not seen Kunga on Kampala streets. So what is the purpose of it? For me, I believe in defiance and activism.
right.
Yes. If it is enough, we have to go on the streets and we say enough is enough.
Indeed.
Yes.
Well, I promised that we would be having this conversation for an hour. It's about 58 minutes right now that we have had this conversation. What do you want to tell Ugandans, and specifically those who follow you and people in the international realm, about either the Savage Avenger and how they should participate in ensuring that they gain transformational change in Uganda?
What I should tell Ugandans and other concerned people is that for me, I'm not in exile, just eating hot dogs and whatnot, European food. I'm also in exile, planning the way forward. I believe that right now I'm well recovered and able to rejoin the struggle. In any chance I get to return to Uganda, I'll reappear in Uganda the way, I'll use the method I used to live to reappear again in Uganda. So the likes of Mr. Museveni, when they fled the country and they went to Sweden in exile, they did not sleep. They also had to do everything possible to make sure that they catapult the government of that day. So for us, the diasporans, we should not only put our frustrations online, we should also cooperate and we see how we can frustrate the government back home. By frustrating, I mean that what is giving Mr. Museveni wings to frustrate Ugandans, to create hell for Ugandans, is the funds. We must write to these governments that fund Mr. Museveni to ask them, we must ask them, why are they funding terrorism? Like, for example, Canada is a very good country, democratic country. Why should they fund a a group of terrorists masquerading as a government. That is why whenever I get a chance to meet the European Commission for Human Rights, whenever I meet foreign ministries, I tell them these things. I ask them, and I demand for answers. So we people who are living in diaspora, who are in exile, we must cooperate, we must come together, and we see how we can preach, and we ask these governments not to stop recognizing the Museveni government. That is what he did when he ran to exile. He began meeting foreign governments, and asking them to stop recognizing Obote because he rigged the elections. But now, for us as in diaspora, what we do, we just hold some small protests.
Yeah.
Right on our Twitter, we do this. We must organize appointments. We meet government entities. We meet governments. We ask them why they should have a peaceful country, and then they fund hell back in Uganda. That is what we should be doing. We should be asking to close taps for funding.
Right.
Because these funds that Mr. Museveni uses to frustrate Ugandans, to create hell, then we again run away from hell. We come to these foreign countries, and it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense indeed. It's been a pleasure, Mr.
Even if it is these things of saying that they are funding refugees, who is creating the scenario of refugees?
Right.
I understand that recently the office of Prime Minister, they chased away Ugandans, and they got land and they resettled refugees, or when they know that they are coming for accountability purposes,
right,
they hire Ugandans and they come to masquerade as refugees. So you can see the whole thing is used as a cash cow to get money to steal.
Right.
So we have to inform these people about everything as it is. Because when you ask, even the journalists, recently I appeared I was in Sweden and I appeared in a television interview. The journalists do not know how much money the Swedish government sends to dictator Museveni in funding. They do not know. They didn't even have an idea about Uganda. It is me who was educating them about it.
Right.
Why do you pay for taxes? Why do you pay taxes? And your taxes are used to fund terrorism in Uganda, which should be used to develop you more and more.
Do you think that civic education should focus on educating the people in the diaspora as opposed to pushing it to people in Uganda who do not have the power to actually implement any kind of policy changes?
Now, who will do the civic education on the diasporans? Of course, diasporans we know. We really know. We have seen. We can at least do some comparison of. For example, if someone is staying in Canada, you can see how government is running, how infrastructure is, and back home, how it is. You compare.
Right.
You start asking yourself questions when you are browsing on Facebook and you see someone has been tortured, really, has been, that you compare rule of law in Uganda and wherever you're staying. Now, you start asking yourself questions, and you start asking the government questions. Why are you still funding the people who do not even have any apology, who cannot change their behavior?
Right.
Yes.
Well, these are conversations that we shall continue to engage in. Of course, as you have said, we have to ensure that we talk to the people in the diaspora, the newsmen or journalists, of course, the politicians as well, so that we can lobby and try to do as much as possible to ensure that the people in the diaspora, people in Canada, the US, people in Europe, including the new king. What are your thoughts, by the way, about the new king? Have you been
don't have any thought about it anyway, but
Okay.
I wish him the best.
Right.
things are not going on well for him.
Yeah, things are not going on well for them. We shall see how by tomorrow we shall know who the new prime minister is. I heard that Boris is doing well. I think he has about 53 endorsements. But of course, Sunak has more than 100. I think he has 126 right now endorsements from fellow MPs. So we are likely going to see a colored prime minister of the UK, which is going to be interesting.
That anyway. Yeah. But as long as the person who becomes the prime minister is a human enough to know the situation as it stands in other Commonwealth countries like Uganda.
Well, I think the Conservative government in the UK is one of the governments that has been advocating for taking refugees to Rwanda. So I don't know if that policy is going to be the same with Sunak if he becomes the prime minister.
If they must take the refugees back to Rwanda or to anywhere, they must also check themselves. What they fund the dictatorships, so people run away from the dictatorship and go to seek refuge in their country.
Then
they want to take back the people to another dictatorship. That is very sad.
Well, these are all.
They must take the refugees from. Okay, it is an issue of international law. Everyone has a right to go and seek asylum anywhere, and that country has, if in case the person doesn't feel safe from where they are coming from, they do not have a right to take him back.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Kakwenza Rukirabashaija. It's been a pleasure.
Learn, don't mind.
Yeah, I will, for sure. The people, I want to tell the people in New York, Kakwenza will be with you in the summer of 2023. The people in Toronto and Vancouver, Kakwenza is going to be with you in the summer of June 2023. Look out for the SAVAGE Avenger. It's coming out at the end of the year. Look out for it and ensure that you buy it on Amazon. I've persuaded him to put it on Chapters as well. In Canada, we have Chapters Indigo. That's where we usually buy books as well, because that's where some of us have membership. But we can also buy books.
For your advice, but definitely I will liaise with Pen Canada to make sure that books are everywhere.
Yeah, Pen Canada should know about Chapters, definitely. Speak to them; they will know how to interact with the Chapters Indigo so that you can have your book there. It's been a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great Sunday.
Thank you so very much for giving me the audience.
Have a great day. This is the state of the nation. Irifa Mwanga. We are deliberate, we are reasonable, we are uncensored. The state of the nation with Henry Sally.